give us your overview on sort of some interesting trends that you've seen, the maturity of the business. Pre-bid, of course, is matured. Header bidding is coming into focus. What are some interesting things you could share with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're really at an inflection point for CTV when it comes to programmatic. And we see that in a few different ways. So at the most basic level, we are now seeing supply that's available to be monetized in CTV exceeding or growing faster than the demand is growing. Of course, right now, a lot of us are at home consuming tons of content. Much of that is ad supported. And then kind of secondly, stemming from that growth in supply, we're seeing much more of a willingness from OTT digital publishers and even from some of the largest programmers now to bring on more diversified demand and work with different demand sources. And they're doing that because the technology is starting to catch up and allow them to leverage header bidding in a form that's built specifically for CTV and really bring in more optimized demand. And then I think the third trend that we're seeing with the growth of CTV is CTV moving up funnel. So really, what are the use cases that CTV is solving for? So in some cases, what are the use cases that programmatic is solving for? In some cases, programmatic is backfill, and that's a great use case for it when impressions aren't sold through a direct sales team. But we're also starting to see programmatic take on a larger function for the most premium CTV inventory, where buyers are able to target on audience and really transact in the most premium ways through programmatic.
Lauren, could you just fill us in a little bit more about header bidding?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at a basic level, the idea of header bidding is that multiple demand sources, typically SSPs, can compete for an impression, and the publisher can allow the highest bid to win for that impression. And what we're seeing now in CTV, header bidding, particularly pre-bid, is a very widely adopted technology in the display world. But there's a lot of nuance and complexity in CTV. The fact that we have a full commercial break where we need to manage ad pods, we need to consider what ads are running back to back, how many times those ads are running, much more complex than we would see in a display world. And so it's important that you can't just kind of plug and play that technology. That technology has to take the same kind of principle, but rebuild itself for CTV specifically. And so now what we're seeing with pre-bid is that we've rebuilt that technology to consider ad podding and competitive separation, really the needs of the publisher to generate revenue, the needs of the user to have a decent viewer experience and not see the same ad over and over again, and the needs of the buyer to make sure that frequency capping and their rules are enforced. So we're seeing technology catch up to these challenges in CTV. And as programmers have an increased amount of supply that they need to monetize, they're more willing to bring in new differentiated demand sources with technologies that are providing scale and that are providing yield as well as controls and compliance that are required in effectively managing CTV.
And Lauren, I wanted to ask you about the best case of an SSP and also what Xandr has developed in terms of its sell-side offering.
Yeah, so the role of an SSP, I think, is to do two things. It's to provide scalable, flexible technology that allows publishers and programmers to transact in all of the ways that they want, whether that's open exchange, whether that's curated marketplaces, one-to-one private deals, or programmatic guaranteed. And so Xandr Monetize has been investing heavily in our video and CTV first offerings to give publishers and programmers the tools that they need to execute and capitalize on programmatic demand in a way that makes sure that they can provide the best user experience. In addition to that, an SSP's role is often to provide incremental demand to what a direct sales team is responsible for, or enable a direct sales team to sell programmatically. And so that's where we're leveraging Xandr audience segments based on AT&T data to help drive new and differentiated demand into the marketplace, in addition to powering a broader marketplace as a technology platform.
How is the demand side changed, and how does that affect the work that you do?
Yeah, just like the sell side, the demand side is trying to understand how to bid effectively and monetize effectively in a CTV and ad podded world specifically. And so I think we see a consolidation in CTV spend coming from a fairly small number of DSPs, and that allows DSPs to build direct relationships with programmers, with their sell side partners, to really understand the inventory that they're getting and make sure that they're able to transact on that. And I think the industry as a whole, as we do see programmers embrace header bidding in CTV in a way that just wouldn't have been on the table a year ago or even a few months ago, DSPs are faced with the new challenge of how do they ingest all of this inventory and make the most of it in a way that their systems can handle.
Lauren, so tell us about Xandr's programmatic OTT with pre-bid solution, that product offering, and what you're bringing to the market with that.
Absolutely. So Xandr is investing in our programmatic for OTT solution because we're seeing programmers and publishers with the need to introduce new programmatic demand to their CTV inventory, primarily ad podded inventory, and navigate the challenges that poses. So our solution is actually built on top of Prebid, an open source flexible platform. And we really have three goals that we're helping our clients with. First, we're solving for yield. So making sure that programmatic can compete with direct sold, and in some cases, programmatic can compete across SSPs and not just in one siloed SSP ecosystem. Second, we're focused on innovation. So really focused on the controls and compliance that any programmer would expect when monetizing their CTV inventory. So providing tools for competitive separation, frequency capping, ad podding, and other CTV first features like that. And then third, we're focused on flexibility. So I think in particular in CTV, there's, in display, we have a couple of ad servers. In CTV, you have your ad server, but you also have different video players, SSAI partners. There's many different combinations. So it's really important that header bidding technology in CTV is flexible and can integrate with any of those multiple combinations.
So, Lauren, as a follow-up, what does this mean for the consumer experience, and how do you consider the consumer experience in this sort of product development? Why does it matter?
I think consumer experience is one of the biggest focuses for programmers and vMVPDs in the space right now who are thinking about adding programmatic or expanding programmatic within their demand mix. So I think the most important thing that we can do to help improve consumer experience is really increasing diversity of ads so that we're not seeing the same ad over and over again. And especially as inventory increases, buys become more audience targeted. It's part of the growing ecosystem for more and more brands to start buying CTV, so we get more of that mix. And as a viewer, your experience is better if you're seeing ads that are, one, targeted to you, and two, ads that are diverse and not the same over and over. So that's why one of the things that we're focused on is making sure that programmers have the right controls so that they can enforce frequency capping on ads and also competitive separation so that competitive ads aren't running back to back all the time.